I miss it once it's gone.
The metronome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of these days, we're just going to leave it up there the whole episode.
Some drummers need a click track when they're playing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's what this era of the dive down is we get older and slower. We just need a click track to stay sharp.
Is that a free metronome app?
It comes up in Google as an onboard thing in Google. You just type metronome into Google and a little BPM appears and you just press the button.
Okay, I have a pitch.
Okay.
Metronome app for your phone comes with a single tone, but for 99 cents, you can buy new tones.
Yes.
So one of the sounds is a quack.
Quack, quack, quack.
Yes, exactly. The other one could just be like the C of key, the key of C.
The Sea of Key. The Sea of Key was one of my favorite post-rock bands. Sea of Key.
Yeah.
I would purchase that if you had a sound of somebody bridge shuffling.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would like the sound of a weeping Underworld Breach player.
Yeah. Someone like flicking cards. The sound of a card being snapped up against the playmat.
Yeah.
Never gets old.
Maybe we just need a Magic the Gathering ASMR channel. Is that the new era of the dive down?
Well,
We'll just do 2 hours of card shuffling, 2 hours of card flicking.
Devon, did you see that Magic the Gathering official lo-fi beats to chill and study to on YouTube?
No.
I sent you that, I think, right?
You did share with me, though, David. I saw it in advance of you because I listened to Lo-Fi Girl on YouTube a lot, in fact.
Okay.
But it rules. If you're familiar with Lo-Fi Girl or one of her many iterations, it's that, but the MTG version.
Huh.
It's just a picture of Chandra.
Yeah,
Right? Isn't it Chandra on a motorcycle?
I search MTG Lo-Fi, and that's the first one that came up. Lo-Fi beats the drift to.
Yeah.
Their drift.
It rules.
That's sick.
I listened to it while drafting.
I would say it's maybe the third or fourth best thing about Aether Drift.
Might be the second.
The limited format's pretty fire. It's good.
Hey, that's in the top 3.
Yeah.
Ketramos, the limited format, Lo-Fi beats to Drift to. And the friends we made along the way in the multiverse.
That's it.
That's all we got.
I got one more thing for you. As you know, I've been spending a lot of time at comic book stores lately, kind of just to pass the time, sifting through back issues. Sifting through back issues is the new sifting through a bulk box, which was also the new sifting through like boxes of vinyl.
Sure.
And look what I stumbled across. Totally randomly.
Ooh.
Magic Planeswalkers: Noble. A one-shot MTG story from Boom Studios about various Magic Planeswalkers doing stuff. And I've said this before, and I'll say this again. The fact that Magic the Gathering doesn't lean harder into comic book storytelling, I think is one of the most wasted opportunities for the IP.
I'm sure Mark Rosewater agrees with you or agreed with you at some point in the past.
Here's another thing I recently picked up. Do you know?
Ooh, you got Destroy All Humans.
They can't be regenerated.
What's that from?
This one I picked up at Pastimes. It even came with its own bookmark.
Ooh,
A foil Diabolic Edict.
that's nice.
The original Tempest art,
Yeah.
I believe that is.
Yeah. There's a card in every manga. And I think I read that in issue 2 or 3, it comes with Shock. So they're really pulling out the big guns for these promo cards for their first MTG manga. Hello and welcome to episode 312. 312. That's the Chicago area code. One of them.
Which ones are your favorite? Are you a
The
312
OG.
or a 773?
I mean, I grew up in the 312 era. I'm old enough to remember 708, dog.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, that's because you're new blood.
I am new blood.
You adopted this city.
Yep.
I technically wasn't born into it, but it feels that way sometimes. But now I'm 847. I'm in the suburbs.
Understood.
This is the Dive Down, a Magic the Gathering podcast focused on the latest decks, trends, strategies, and area codes for the casual spike. My name is Stanislav here in Chicago, and with me on the line from the Eastern Seaboard, chewing up and down the coast, the right coast, it's Devon O'Donnell, aka Doomwake. Hey, Devon.
I'm not on a train right now. I just want to make sure you know that. I'm sitting at my computer.
Then why are you shoveling coal into a big hot chamber?
I can't explain that.
Is that what happens in Destroy All Humans? They can't be regenerated? Shoveling coal into chambers?
Yes.
No, it's about two children in junior high school who form a permanent bond playing Magic the Gathering in like the early days of Magic.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay.
That's literally what it's about. It all like takes place in junior high and high school.
Lovely.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Also with us, David.
I'm here. Let's do
The
it.
Godfather
I was
Harburger.
going to say, you're not going to call him the Godfather? What's going on here?
He just keeps speaking up, so what's the point in really introducing him?
We're starting to take his toys away because he speaks up too much.
On this week's show, we gaze upon the results of the Modern Regional Championship in Charlotte. We gaze upon them in horror, and then we fondly relive Devon's recent vacation, which coincidentally also happened to be in Charlotte.
Weird.
That's random.
Yeah, I don't know. Why would I do that?
Dev, did you stop by the convention center while you were on holiday?
No, I was too busy shoveling coal.
Yeah. You were at the Coal Con.
Yeah.
But first, let's housekeep. 3 new patrons, new and returning patrons in the Dive Down Nation. We have Ty, Kimchi Cat, and DJ Cthulhu. Hello, welcome back. Great to have you aboard Devon's Coal Train.
Choo choo.
We also got a new review from Jungle96, who asked us to... Jungle96 says they love the show and listen to every episode. Thank you. Did leave a comment encouraging us to focus more on whatever the most current RCQ season is. And I've been thinking about that more often, if that's something that we should do, because we were living vicariously through Devon's RCQ grinding. And maybe we should just be talking a little bit more about standard. If more people are playing it, if that's where the casual spikes are, that's the paper format du jour.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed that, at least in my content. I've been doing a lot more standard, and it seems like that's kind of what people are more into. The standard's only got, I think, 2 weeks left, and then it switches to modern, so...
Yeah. So it'll
Modern?
be a slow transition.
Yeah, modern's next.
Modern, we're somewhat familiar with that one.
You sure?
I guess in that spirit, we will continue to focus on whatever the RCQ format is and just stick to modern for now and whatever else interests us. But if you are an active listener and do want to hear us talk about standard when that's the RCQ format, let us know. Write into the pod. Leave a comment on Spotify or email thedivedown@gmail.com or find us on Blue Sky. I am curious, like, if people just want to hear modern year round, even if it's not the RCQ format, if you just want to follow our lead, or if we should try to stay more closer to the competitive calendar.
We do ask this question like once a year, so we know that if you've been a listener for a long time, maybe you feel like you've answered this before, but we want to know again. So
yeah,
it's a good time to check in. Remind us. Yeah, show us.
I mean, some people change their opinions every year to year, so,
Magic player change their opinion?
No,
Never.
Absolutely not.
Never.
If you'd like to support the show, or you're already a supporter, you can write into our Patreon. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/thedivedown. You can get a discount on Heavy Play through our affiliate code. That helps us as well. Promo code TheDiveDown2025 gets you 10% off your first order at heavyplay.com. You can also support us while playing Magic Online with our Mana Traders code. All one word, The Dive Down, gets you 25% cash back after 3 months of Mana Trader service, and that helps us as well. All right, that's the house. We've kept it up.
Mm-hmm.
Should we talk about the last modern RC of whatever that season was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that everyone's been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte. The bookend to the Portland experience.
Yes.
Wait, is that why I was in Charlotte?
It is why we sent you to Charlotte.
Oh, okay. Well,
Now,
I must take a wrong turn.
How you returned may be a different story. Yeah.
Yeah, we sent Devon to Charlotte with a microphone, a dream, and a $20 bill with the instructions
that went fast.
make it
Shoot.
big or don't come back.
Shoot. You used to be able to get a couple of good dinners and a cup of coffee for $20. Is that not true anymore?
No, you get like a large Starbucks and a bagel or something.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Starbucks famously mid bagels. I don't think they're going to sponsor my podcast now.
I don't think they're going to be happy about your bagel content.
And you know what? I'd rather sponsor Dunkin' Donuts anyway.
Yeah.
That's my man. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, good news and bad news about Charlotte. The good news, I'm just going to jump right ahead. Friend of the show, Jesse Robkin, won the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
Woo!
Amazing.
Let's go.
Love it.
Did you guys know that she was not qualified?
Did she LCQ in?
She LCQ'd in.
Good for you, Jesse. That's amazing.
That's incredible.
So
Yeah.
good. It's so good.
I was in New York a couple months ago. It was like either end of January or early February, and I bumped into Jesse at an LGS. True story. I have the selfie to prove it. And I went to some LGS to play Modern, and she was out scoping the scene because she lives there now. And she, I was telling her, yeah, I'm preparing for Portland, and we were kind of chatting, and she's like, yeah, I haven't been playing much Magic lately, and I don't know if I want to go to Charlotte or whatever. It's technically relatively close to me now, but she was very wishy-washy about it, and I guess still got it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Breach, she was a longtime Breach player back when it was various different forms of it over the years, along with Corey and a couple other people who were really into it in different phases. So maybe just the Siren's Call of Breach was too much to avoid when it's the best deck.
Yeah, I've heard from multiple sources that she was actually the creator of the very first Breach deck. So it's only fitting for her to, now that it's on its swan song, just the send off.
Yeah.
Wow. Another piece of good news from Charlotte. The round one metagame didn't look utterly terrible in terms of all 1,300 decks that were registered in round one. In fact, Other made up the biggest slice of the pie.
What?
343 decks had 4 copies or less, which was about 26% of the round one metagame.
Okay. Sure. Why do you keep calling it round one instead of day one?
Because people drop out,
Okay.
and round one represents all the registered decks for the tournament.
Okay.
It's a new thing I'm
a
trying,
new thing
Dave.
you're
What do you care?
I'm just glad it's not an accent or something.
It's a rebranding.
Yeah.
All right. The bad news. Breach is completely and utterly uncontrollable. It totally dominated the whole event and almost put 8 copies into the top 8.
It was real close, wasn't it?
It was
We were
so
rooting
close.
for it.
We were. At least I was.
It was the John Cena heel turn that we wanted.
Yeah, but who's the Rock in this scenario?
That's you, dog.
No. The Rock is the Titan deck.
Yeah, that's probably right. All right, so let's look at the metagame. Among the most represented decks, so this is after Other, Breach was the most popular deck. 307 copies. I mentioned there's about 1,300 players. 23% of the room was on Breach. Not surprising, I guess. Followed by Eldrazi. I think that's probably maybe not exactly what we anticipated. Eldrazi was the second most popular deck, 141 copies, 11%. So like half as many, kind of a steep drop off. Followed by Boros, 108 decks, 8%. And surprisingly to me, Titan outnumbered Orzhov. 91 to 64, which is 7 and 5% respectively. So I guess maybe some people were trying to recapture the success that Titan had in Portland and just in recent events online and elsewhere. 45 people brought Murktide, which was a split between Dimir and Esper. There was also 20 people who were playing Jeskai Energy, not Boros, which I think is actually pretty big numbers for Jeskai specifically. And then 20 people also brought Mill. One of the more represented decks in the field was Mill.
Do you know 3 people with Mill qualified for the PT?
Really?
3 in top 32, yeah.
There were some well-known players on Mill, weren't there?
Jake Beardsley.
That's who I was trying to think of. Yeah, who
Yep.
won I mostly remember him because I believe he won Pro Tour Lord of the Rings on
He did.
Scam, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to play a little something I call the Newly Rates game?
Sure.
Only if you ask it in the tone of, do you want to play a game?
First, I just need to confirm. Did you look at the win rate matrix?
Nope.
No.
Then who wants to play the Newly Rates game?
That's what I was looking for. I don't want Saw. I want, or Jigsaw, or whatever that guy's name is. I want full stand game show host vibe. Let's hear it. Let's play.
So I'm just going
going
to
the
ask
other way.
a handful of questions. This will only take a few minutes. And I want you guys to try to guess the deck or decks that answer the question.
Do we have buzzers?
Say your name.
Okay.
Say his name.
Instead of a buzzer, just be like Dave.
Right.
And, whatever word represents a deck name. Phoenix.
What if I say Dave?
Yeah, exactly. And you know who our voice is. There's only two of us. Why do we have to say our name?
Okay.
Is that fine? Can we just talk?
Devon wanted a buzzer. Yeah, just talk. I don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't think this far ahead. All right. First of all, here's a fun one. What do you think was the cheapest monetarily deck that had been registered in this event? I will accept 2 answers.
In the whole event?
Yeah. What do you think was the cheapest deck?
That's a good question.
The name of the deck or the money, the value?
I want the name of the deck, but if you want to guess the money, you can guess the money.
I'm going to say that somebody registered Mono Red Prowess and it was $85.
Okay, that's Dave's guess. Devon, you wanna throw one in there?
I mean, I have a guess, but I think given the mana base, it's probably not the best guess, but I'll say Burn at 175.
Okay, you're both wrong, but not totally off. So there were 2 decks tied at $70.
Ooh, I almost got the price right.
Damn.
Almost. One of them is Mono Red Aggro.
Okay.
This is 4 Signal Pest, 4 Ornithopter, Memnites, Bushwhackers, Foundry Street Denizens.
Yes.
Holy.
Kuldotha Rebirth, Gleeful Diminution.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like 8 whack.
It's 8 whack, yeah.
And that didn't have Mox Opal in it?
Not only did it not have Mox Opal in it, the most expensive card in the main deck was Goblin Bushwhacker.
Which is like $5 or something. That's funny. That's really funny. That is the kind of deck. I mean, if you're Kuldotha Rebirth thing, you should be trying out Mox Opal, right?
Wait, how did they get to 75 if the most expensive card in the main deck was Bushwhacker?
They had some Legion Loyalists in the sideboard.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that explains it.
Okay. What was the other answer you would accept?
I would have accepted Is It Storm. Oh, I want to mention also Mono Red Aggro went 0-4, which means this person was in the tournament until they were knocked out of day 2.
Yeah, they went for it.
I absolutely respect, and I would do the exact same thing.
Sure.
Yeah, the other answer I would have accepted was Is It Storm?
Is it Storm?
Is It Storm?
Okay.
And this player registered 4 Arclight Phoenix, 4 Stormcrow as the creature package.
Stormcrow.
Stormcrow.
Not
You're
Stormwing Entity, Stormcrow?
I'm looking at the deck list.
Whoa.
4 Stormcrow.
Based.
Yeah.
No, that's someone just trolling for sure. Did they go 1 and 3? Did they go 0 and 4?
They went 0-1.
They went 0 and 1. Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't real.
I don't know.
I don't think this is real.
Here's the thing. There were 2 decks that, like, one Abzan Affinity, which came up as $0, which was like 60 islands and 15 forests.
Okay.
So, like, there's a mechanism for decks that are not real.
Okay.
This is someone registered these cards. I think they played around and dropped, or they didn't even drop. Maybe they no-showed on round 1, something like that. But the deck was registered. Yeah, had 4 Stone Rain in the sideboard. Good sideboard. Good meta call there.
Yeah, good thing I dodged them. I mean, some people just show up to get the promo and leave. So that could have been what happened.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's get a little harder in the quiz. That was the gimme. What do you think was the worst matchup for Breach. I will accept 2 answers. Bonus points if you can get the win rate for Breach.
I'm going to go first.
I'm going to let you go first.
Archetype, Temur Mill, win percentage 41.
Okay.
I'm going to say burn 46.
Okay. Dev, very good. Mill was one of them, and you were close, 39% for Breach.
Wow, really good.
So yeah, it's like, that's why 20 people registered Mill.
Yeah,
because,
That's why 3 from top 32.
Exactly.
because sometimes you just lose to a single to Tasha's hideous laughter.
I will say, if Devon hadn't said mill, I was going to say mill. Just saying.
Okay. The other answer I would have accepted was Orzhov Necro Dominance.
Oh, okay.
Which is like mono black Necro splashing for Ketramos.
What was that rate?
31.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
With 36 matches, which is not insignificant. That's more matches than the Mill
Seriously.
gamers.
Are you going to tell us the overall win rate of Breach? Is there a question coming about that, or would this be a good time to mention that?
I'll mention that it was 54%. And it had favorable win rates against the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 decks.
Wow.
It's a good deck.
Yep, here we are.
Final question. What do you think was the best performing deck in the event? I will accept 3 answers. Bonus point for if you have the percentage. And this is looking at just decks that had at least 50 matches in their sample size. 2 of my 3 answers actually have over 100 matches. So this is, I would say, statistically significant.
You go first, Dave. I stole your answer last time.
You know, I think that was just a good answer. So, I mean, you just said Breach. I'm going to guess 54 wasn't high enough to be one of the top 3. So I'm looking at the rest of the meta. I'm going to say Mill was one of them for a laugh.
All right, you got a laugh.
Was it not? I thought maybe it was after the matchup skew you talked about with Breach.
I'll wait for Devon to guess.
So do you want me to give
You're not
3
going to guess
or-
a number?
Do you want me to give 3 or 1?
I will accept. No, just make one guess.
Okay.
But you have 3 possible right answers.
Okay. I thought you were going to guess a number too.
Okay.
Yeah, give me a number.
Since we already did Mill, I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to randomly say Belcher with 56.5%.
All right. I'm going to say Titan. And
that's good too.
Number, it's got to be close to Breach. I'll guess 55.
I regret to inform you, you're both wrong.
Okay.
No.
That's okay. That's why we're here. We're here to learn.
Yeah. All right. So the 3 answers I would have accepted with 104 matches: Ruby Storm,
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Ugh.
57% win rate, despite a losing battle against Breach,
Interesting. Okay.
but fairly well against everything else. The next one, Hollow One, 55% with over 100 matches.
That's funny.
Let's go.
Yeah. And then the trailing is Eldrazi Tron, 55% with 62 matches.
Eldrazi Tron.
Eldrazi Tron.
Okay. We're back, baby.
Eldrazi Tron.
Yeah. If you go to the top 32, 64, and you try to find Gruul Eldrazi, it's slim pickings.
Yeah.
Got any insights on why that happened? Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute, Devon.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Devon, I think that's a really great transition. Let's just look at some of the top decks of the format right now and see how they did at the event. Because Orzhov Blink, Eldrazi Ramp, and Boros Energy all sub 50%.
Ooh, what? I'm very surprised by all of that. Okay.
They're Blink and Boros at 49,
Yeah.
Ramps at 48. But these are all like Eldrazi and Blink had over 1,000 matches. Blink had almost 1,500 matches. Boros had almost 1,000 matches. Like the top decks did not do well, with the exception of Breach. Titan is where it starts to look good. Even Temur Murktide got a 53% win rate.
I played a deck that was worse than Temur Murktide. Oh my goodness.
I don't know how that happens in this kind of, I mean, it's like, what has changed to make something like this happen? Orzhov was like one of the hottest decks, and it only had 2 good matchups against the top decks. It only had positive matchups against Boros Energy and Temur Murktide. It had a couple of sub 40% matchups against like Control and Amulet Titan. It had one, that was really bad.
I feel like a lot of people going into the event were assuming that the black-white deck had a good matchup against Breach or whatever plan they had, and I just don't think that their plan was good enough to beat the Breach decks.
Yeah. I mean, the error bars on this, for what it's worth, there were 371 matches. It was 48% win rate. So the error bars are 43 to 53% on that. So it's possible that it's in the range of possibilities that it has a positive matchup, but certainly didn't have a dominant one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would actually say, just outside of this tournament, Demir's been doing well lately. Temur and Esper. There were 2 modern challenges where either Temur or Esper made it to the finals against Boros, and in both cases they beat Boros, which is usually the flip.
Feels like variance.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Yeah, that it probably is variance, because like I'm looking at this Temur deck and it's basically what you would expect, except it's got a couple of main deck Kaido, Bane of Nightmares.
Yeah, I'm looking at the results. It looks like the deck, I'm not going to go deep on this, but the Esper Oculus or Temur Oculus deck that did the best was by David Galperin in 50th place at Charlotte. And it looks like kind of what you would expect, except for these decks have started picking up Picklock Prankster. I've seen a couple of times, I guess, to fill your graveyard early for either for Oculus fuel so that you can then catch your most, I guess, pretty quick as well.
Yeah. So tough tournament for, I think, a lot of the decks that people showed up with, unless you showed up with Breach, and then Breach did the Breach thing. Let's take a look at the top 32 really quick.
Before we get off this, you said earlier that Temur Breach had positive matchups against all 8 of the top decks. Mm-hmm. I just want to say what those were really quickly. 52% against Blink, 60% against Eldrazi Ramp, 52% against Energy, 56 against Titan, 58 against Domain, 52 against Murktide, 59 against Energy Control, and 57 against Azorius Control. I honestly don't understand how this deck ended up with an aggregate win rate of only 54%. Somebody must have gotten paired down or against non-meta decks or something weird like that. But
yeah, it's weird
because that top looks really ridiculously strong.
There's only a couple in the red too. It's 31 against Necro, 39 against Mill, but everything else is just clean. I don't know.
Guess what deck it went 0-7 against? Rakdos Death Shadow.
Jeez.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
I love whoever brought Rakdos Death Shadow to Charlotte. I was rooting for you in the past without even knowing.
I wonder if that was one Shadow player and they just played against Breach 7 times.
I think it probably was.
Maybe.
Almost sure.
Did you clock the 40% against humans?
No. Humans.
5 matches against humans, 40% win rate.
Bring it back. This is what they took from us. Humans had a 53% win rate, 60% against Breach, as you said, along with nothing good against anybody else.
Well, when nothing happens at the next BNR, we should be playing humans after that, probably.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
All right, I want to look at the top 32 really quick because, it's got 3 Titan decks, 1 Boros Energy, 3 Mill, 17 Breach. Oh my God. 1 Hollow 1 Jeskai Energy, 3 Orzhov, 1 Storm, 1 Etron, 1 Esper Blink.
I thought you were going to say Breach for last.
Half the top 32. More than half the top 32 is Breach.
Have we ever been at this level? Very few times, right? Was the Energy 17 of the top 32 before?
No, definitely not. I want to say Hogak got there.
Yeah, this is I was going to say this is Tybalt's trickery.
Yeah. It might even be closer to that than Hogak, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because at least in the Hogak era, you had Mono Red Phoenix to sometimes turn 2 people.
Yeah. No, this is bad.
This is bad, and it will be corrected. One thing to note is there was another RC in Australia this weekend that Devon and I were looking at before you got on the phone, Stan, and it only had 150 people, and Breach was not as dominant. Maybe card supply or something like that is a problem, but there were still 9 Breach decks in the top 32.
Mm-hmm.
That deck was won by Colorless Eldrazi. You should check it out. And second place in that one was Hollow One, I think. Let me double check. Yes, second place was Hollow One.
Yep.
Hollow One gamers, what is up?
I got it right here.
I played against Hollow One today.
Yeah.
I was doing a little bit more Orzhov Blinken actually in the morning.
Blinken in the morning.
I have this new routine. Can I digress?
Yeah, of course.
A 30-second digression, I promise. When I take one of my children to daycare in the morning, I have like a solid hour before I'm expected to be at work. And even when I'm expected to be at work, it's not like I have any meetings or anything. And I work from home most days. So after I take my child to work, I go to the neighborhood cafe. I have a little coffee beverage. I bring my personal computer, play a match or two on Magic Online. Sometimes I shop for shoes. It's really nice.
It's a good way to start your day.
It's a great way to start your day. And I've been playing a little bit of Black-White Ketramos, Blink. And then, yeah, I played against Hollow One this morning. I beat him, but I think that's because that was the control deck. And Ephemerating Solitudes is a pretty good way to deal with like a lot of the creatures in that deck.
I love it.
All right, let's talk about parting thoughts about this metagame following this tournament before we dive into Devon's tournament. Because I would bet that this is likely the last time we see this modern metagame at a large modern paper tournament.
Why is that?
Unless there's an RC between now and the BNR.
No, there's not.
Okay, this was the last weekend of them. Why is that, Dave? I think because we've just reached the natural state of modern that we hit once or twice a year, which is we figured out what the most broken thing is with the modern card pool, and people leveraged it to great success. No one could find a sustainable answer, and now play design needs to usher a correction so that we can move on and continue to enjoy the format. I'm trying to be as black and white about it as possible.
Yes, I was mostly fishing for the day that the ban is coming up when I asked you that question. Do we know what date we're looking at?
31st.
31st. So it's still a couple weeks out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's the, what's it called? The Hunter Burden, I believe, is next week or this upcoming weekend. I think it might be. I'll tell you this week or next week. And I know it's before the ban announcement, so that's going to be another Breach event too. Presumably, of course.
Spike, break the meta. We're looking for you, Everett. Get out there.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Obviously we're not a MTG finance pod, but if I was holding Underworld Breach, and I'm not, I've never owned a single copy, I would just try to sell that card to anyone who would take it. And we might be in a situation where Card Kingdom is no longer buy listing it. They do that sometimes. Like, I would even sell it to the LGS for 40%, just like, because otherwise you're going to end up holding the bag. And I don't think a card that's basically banned everywhere else is going to endure in modern. Though we may want to like try blaming Mox Opal or someone else. Breach is like the bridge from below card in the situation. Like, it only exists to do busted things. And like, yes, you can like play it for value sometimes, but that's not why you're putting it in your deck. You're putting it in your deck to do something extreme. And I think what we see now is it's too extreme for modern, and no amount of hate, no amount of preparation is enough to really keep this deck at bay. Unless you are going to make like a crazy metagame choice, which is Mill, which I think is not really sustainable in the long term because Mill has a hard time against everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those cards in the litany of cards that I have in my collection that people tried in prowess and are just powerful cards that don't make prowess good, but are super busted in the decks that they actually belong in. So it's like, when you said, if you're holding these, you should get rid of them, I just realized I do have a play set of these, and I guess I should ship them because, they're going to be banned in every single format that I play.
I also have a play set of these. I bought them. Well, I think I have 3, but I bought them for Ruby Storm because some list played them. And I mean, rip Ruby Storm to the one of in the sideboard, rip Prowess Enjoyers, but it's got to be done.
Yeah, it definitely has to be done. I mean, this is not. I guess I could play it in Vintage. So we're going to talk about this now.
I'm trying to, David.
We're trying to talk, but I mean, we're talking about this now, but in the sense of like, none of us think that Mox Opal is going to be banned.
I think it would be insane.
Not really.
I think it would be wild too. Like really wild.
Like, when we talked to Blake a couple weeks ago, it's not like he said, we're going to ban this and not that, but I think the thing we sort of agreed on in our conversation, he and his best ability to agree with us, is that like maybe it's okay for Mox Opal to shine a light on the other thing that Mox Opal breaks. And that Mox Opal can be a fun card for the format because of people's relationship to the card and the other decks it can go into, even if one of the decks that it's going into ends up being much too strong. And it only became much too strong because of the inclusion of Mox Opal.
I mean, I totally agree. I just think we enter this like this world of like this almost circular reasoning where it's like, Mox Opal is a pillar of the format, so Mox Opal's never going to get banned. And like, I'm not calling for it to get banned; it just got unbanned,
right?
And so I'm not saying that, and it's not in any other super broken decks. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, one thing that Devon and I were talking about again with that Australia RC, Mox Opal was in the winning deck of that RC, which was a colorless Eldrazi deck that was playing Mox Opal as acceleration, which is cool and interesting, but like that kind of acceleration is always going to be powerful. It's always going to be out there causing problems. So I guess we'll see. I mean, we were all a little shocked when the card was unbanned.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go. Right. The first domino is falling.
Yeah, it's weird because I see a lot of arguments along the lines of, well, eventually it's going to become a problem and so on and so forth. But I mean, if you look at the format right now, like if you could look at the top, 10 decks or whatever, only one of them, maybe 2, has Opal. And now maybe that's because Breach is kind of pushing everything else out of the format and everybody's targeting zeros and targeting artifacts that makes the Opal decks worse. If Breach gets banned, are people targeting those less and maybe Opal gets better? But yeah, I mean, like not only that, but just the fact that, they say they don't acknowledge the secondary market, but I mean, come on. You know what I mean? It's like $150, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just looking at that, wondering myself, does the price on Mox Opal move at all with Breach getting banned?
Not a finance podcast, by the way.
Yeah, not a finance, but I'm like, does it go down? I don't know if it's going to go down.
They don't acknowledge the secondary market, but they know that it exists somewhere.
Right.
But people don't buy Magic cards. They collect them, is the official party line.
Right. I mean, here's what happened. When Mox Opal was unbanned in Modern, it went from being $100. It was just shy of $100 according to Magic Goldfish, and is now at the number that it's at, which is $170 according to Goldfish. I could see it going down to 120 or 125, maybe, if it's not in the best deck anymore.
Perhaps.
I also think they're just going to reprint it. Like, I think Mox Opal is not going to be a $120 card forever. It's not going to be a $150 card forever.
It'll be reprinted somewhere. Yeah.
It'll probably be reprinted several times over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really good. And other cards will end up being expensive, and that's all fine. But I think we've seen now with fetch lands and others that like having cards that are permanently above $100 is not good for a format.
Right.
It's accessibility, at least.
Yes. All right. So anyway, digression, but I guess so. The takeaway from all this, we haven't even talked through the full top 8, which was 6 Breach decks as well. The other two in the top 8 were Amulet Titan and Boros Energy. As we mentioned, Jesse Robkin won the event. Corey Burkhart came in second, another longtime Breach player, which
Yeah.
is interesting to see them meet up in the finals. And then there's nobody else that I recognize here in the end. Was there anything interesting about any of these particular lists, or did you just kind of feel like, hey, we are stocky? Was there any tech that people were talking about?
I mean, I looked at the Boros deck, and there's 4 Ranger Captain of Eos in the main, which feels like just looking out for Breach gamers. But otherwise, I didn't see anything like truly unusual.
No. I guess the Hollow One deck, but
Yeah. Hollow One was 18th, was the highest version of Hollow One, which is pretty. I mean, this is still just kind of playing Marauding Mako and et cetera, et cetera. So there's nothing too new even with this, but it is cool to see it. Yeah, we usually have a couple of like cool decks ink here, but I think there's not even anything within the top 75 at least. Stan, what do you think?
Dude, 4 Stormcrow. You don't think that's cool?
I do, but that deck went 0-1.
we did say top 75.
Yeah, I was looking through the top 75, top 100. It's pretty much all meta decks.
0-1,
Top
still better than
7,500.
still better than you, Dave.
True.
0-0 in Charlotte.
Yeah.
DNP.
All right, so we are. I mean, everybody is convinced that this is going to get a ban. It's time for it to get a ban. It's probably going to be Underworld Breach, is what we're assuming, to just completely and sunset the deck. Modern's going to be something totally different very soon. But Devon, you were there. You were on the floor.
I was actually, much to the surprise of the listeners at home, I was actually not shoveling coal. I was shuffling cards.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah, Charlotte was awesome. We talked a little bit about it last week. Ended up playing the Eldrazi deck with the Haragasts, the Emerge Eldrazi. I like the deck list. think it was pretty good. Turns out maybe Eldrazi was not the best metagame call. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, Charlotte was great. Had an awesome time. Met a bunch of awesome people. Saw some people I haven't seen in a long time. If you want to play What's in Your Mouth, but the food was great. I had some good food.
I always want to play What's in Your Mouth.
What was the food? What was the great food? You said Italian? Anything else?
So there was Saturday night. I went to this grilled cheese place called Papi Queso. It was like I got like a grilled cheese with pulled pork, mac and cheese, caramelized onions. It was
Talking my language.
Delish. And then Sunday we went to this Italian restaurant, and a little bit expensive for what we got, but it was really good. So getting to see Dingo draw at a top 32 was sick. Congrats to Dingo.
Yeah.
Let's go.
On Storm.
Yes.
You long-time energy player, but this time, Stormin.
He was waffling back and forth. Basically, like the entire week before the event, he was playing Black White, then he was on Boros, then he was just like last minute just audible to Storm. So, yeah.
And he was in running for the top 8 for a while.
He lost
too,
to Winnenden.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lost to Winnenden for top 8. Yeah.
But yeah, I was sick to see him. Him and Krista both got into top 32. I wish he had told me how broken Storm was before, because I could have audibled, but he didn't give me that information beforehand. Massachusetts folks, there was a lot in the top 32. Louis, Tom, Ryan, Bill, Michael, and Jeff. Jeff got 33rd, but there was a pass down, so we'll count it. And they all 6 of them played Breach. You're probably not surprised to hear that.
Turns out, no, not too surprised. It's funny that they're all people that are from your scene.
Yeah, it's all like local PTQ guys.
I mean, it's 6 people from the top 32. That's a good portion of the top 32 that are all PTQ guys. I thought we're all on Breach.
New
It's
England
funny.
Magic. There's some good players up here.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, so as far as the event itself, as mentioned previously, played the Eldrazi build with 4 Haragast. Apparently it wasn't as well positioned as I thought it was going to be. Now, there's a couple of factors that maybe kind of fall into that, or that explain that. A few of my opponents, probably more than half of them, seemed like they were very over prepared for the Eldrazi matchup. And I think maybe a part of that was it's sort of like an overcorrection for how much Eldrazi was picking up on Magic Online with the weeks leading up from Portland to Charlotte, because more people were playing it and it seemed like more people were getting more sideboard cards and so on and so forth. But as an example, the first opponent that I played on Domain Zoo, they had 4 Consign and 4 Molten Rain. I'm like, really?
That's a lot. Yeah. Come on.
So, yeah, it seemed like that was part of it. Another one is I prepared a lot for the top decks, like Breach, the Mirror Match, Boros, and Orzhov. I didn't play against a lot of those. I played some weird stuff. We'll get to the matchups in a little bit. And maybe I didn't have plans for those decks as hammered down as I would like to. Like, I knew what I wanted to do against, Breach, Mirror, Eldrazi, and Boros, but it's like the stuff on the fringes that you don't test a lot against, and you just kind of run into it and you're like, kind of just get caught with your pants down. Like, I don't know what to do here. And that's sort of what happened a little bit. And then the Harrogast version, I think I maybe touched on this a little bit briefly last week, but the version with Harrogast definitely has a increased element of variance. And what I mean by that is, in order to cast Harrogast, you need to sacrifice one of your 4-drops. But if you draw Harrogast and don't draw the 4-drops, then you're not casting that card. And that definitely happened a little bit. Maybe my mulligan decisions could have been a little bit different. I weirdly had a lot of close hands, like a lot of these hands that were like, no soul lands, but had, like no soul lands, no sprawl, but I had a Rumble, a Talisman, a 4-drop, and a big Eldrazi. And I'm like, I didn't have a lot of these like middling hands. My hands were either completely unkeepable or the Stone Cold Nuts. So I maybe needed like to get didn't have a good understanding of the middle of the mulligan range, if that makes sense. It's like, I know what hands I'm 100% supposed to mulligan and 100% supposed to keep, but not really in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting to mention this idea that if people killed your Micah spawns, you didn't have a chance to do it.
Yes.
And you felt like the people who you were playing against at the RC were sort of like, we've seen this bit, so we'll do it, right?
Well, a part of that is open deck lists.
Right.
So when you're playing on Magic Online, you don't have open deck lists. And you're showing your opponent Gruul lands and Eldrazi temples, and you play a Myco spawn for 4 mana. They're just thinking that, what am I get? Why would I kill your Myco spawn? You already get your land out of it. It's just a 3/3. Who cares? And then I just follow up with Harrogast next turn. But when you have open deck lists, that's not going to happen. They're going to kill it on sight, and they're not going to let you cast the Harrogast because they know what's up. So I think that was part of it too, where I didn't realize like how much the open deck list would necessarily. I thought about it a little bit, but it kind of sort of bore itself out a little bit more than I had initially anticipated.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just an interesting reminder to people, I think, that like those subtle decisions make such a big difference in Magic, where it's like, here's this thing that I would never do except in this build of the deck where I would always do it.
Yeah, exactly. As far as the event itself, we can do like a little round by round. I have a pretty decent recollection of most of these matches. So, as I mentioned earlier, round 1 played against Domain Zoo, got very swiftly 2-0'd. Both games, I do remember both games, they started on turn 0 Leyline, and both games they also had turn 2 Arena and 2 Haste Scion of Draco on turn 2.
Nice.
And I was like, all right. I had a chance game 1, because he won the die roll. He just kind of steamrolled me game 1. And then game 2, I had a little bit of a chance to come back, resolved a K return, resolved an Emrakul when I knew he had a binding in hand, so he could kill the Emrakul. And then I got the Emrakul trigger, tapped down his Arena of Glory, so he couldn't untap it, and then needed just like to fade 1 or 2 draw steps, but ended up not getting there. Round 2, play against Blue-White Control. And when I say control, I mean, no win conditions. Well, other than Solitude, I guess, but which was a matchup that I, again, not really prepared for. Didn't play against a lot of that on, testing and all that stuff, but one that I was pretty comfortable with. I think this is generally a pretty favorable matchup for Eldrazi decks. I did lose game 2 because I had a bit of a slower start. He played a turn 5 Tef with counterspell backup, and then eventually got to ultimate. Game played out a little bit longer. Tried to find Emrakul, couldn't find it, and then game 3 I blew up 6 of his lands. So that was fun. Round 3 against the mirror. Well, not the true mirror because they were the Karn version. I'll give you a synopsis of the round. I won the die roll.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got for you.
Nailed it.
The Eldrazi mirror, by the way, is abysmal.
It's horrible.
It's so bad.
Is Karn good against you in the mirror? Would you keep it in if you have it?
I
since
would.
You play eggs?
Well, it's
Or not eggs, but
it's
mana
mostly there
rocks?
for the coding. Because
I
like
see.
Karn coding, again, the mirror match, especially post board, is just all about who casts more Stone Rains, and Karn plus coding Stone Rains every turn. So I would keep it in. Maybe it's worse in the draw, but you got to keep it in the play for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Round 4, this was probably the closest match I played all day, to be honest with you. I played against Orzhov Blink, and there was first 2 games, not a ton happened. I mean, they were relatively close, but game 1, I kind of steamrolled him game 1, and then game 2 was a little bit closer. Anyways, we go to game 3, and he is. I can't remember. So I won. So I was in the play for game 3. Yes, I was in the play for game 3. I kept maybe a bit of a slower hand, but it had Kozilek's Return, and didn't have any soul lands, but it had. The thing about the black-white matchup is because they're doing a lot of Vindicating and White Orchid Phantoming, you kind of just want a higher density of lands. Like, you don't have to mulligan to fast mana. You just want actual lands, and, that's fine. So it was like Kozilek's Return, Chrysalis, Big Eldrazi, a couple lands, and it was fine. He ended up Thoughtseizing me. It was a Rumble. It was Rumble, Return, Chrysalis, Big Eldrazi, 3 lands. I was like, all right, fine. He Thoughtseized me, took the Rumble, and he knows about the Kozilek's Return. So I just, draw. I think I drew a land, play land pass. He goes land 2, pass. I go play my 3rd land pass. He doesn't do anything. He plays a land pass. And I have 3 playing my 4th land for the turn. And I have Kozilek's Return and Writhing Chrysalis, right? I still don't have a soul land, so I can't play the Chrysalis and hold up the return. For some reason, I thought that he didn't do anything on turn 2. So I was like, why would I not cast the Chrysalis here? Well, the reason is he knows about the Kozilek's Return. So if he has Felly in hand, he's not going to cast it into my 3 open mana when I can just Kozilek's Return it. So what I should have done was waited till I had 5 mana, play the Chrysalis with 2 spawns and the red up to be able to cast the return to kill Felia. I tapped out. He went end of turn Felia, untap Overlord, and I died very easily. So I think that was a match that I probably threw. I don't really know. I mean, the game obviously would have played out a lot differently if I had waited a turn on the Chrysalis, but that was one I wish I could get back. But very close match. Very, very fun match regardless. Round 5, Orzhov Blink 2-1. Game 1, really not a ton interesting. I did kill my opponent with their own Ketramos, though. When he had,
Whoa.
I think he had Ketramos in play, and he was at 5, and I Emrakul'd him, and I was just like, exile.
Draw cards.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That was nice.
Nice.
Round 6. This is, I guess you could call this my bad beat story. So Mono Blue Belcher, traditionally not a great matchup for Eldrazi. Well, I guess the normal versions play Karn, but even though I didn't have Karn, if you take a look at my sideboard, I had 4 Collector Oof, 3 the Stone Brain, and 4 Stone Rain. So like 11 basically bangers against Belcher.
Right.
We get to game 3. I got destroyed game 1, and then I think I drew 3 Stone Rains and a Collector Oof game 2. So easy peasy. So go to game 3. He is on the play, and I know his sideboard contains, he has 4 Consigns and 3 Into the Floodmaws. The Floodmaws, the bounce spell. So I'm only going to 5, but my 5-card hand against, like, this is 5-card hand against Belcher is Ugin's Labyrinth, Big Eldrazi, Stonebrain, Collector Oof, Stomping Ground. Like, the best 5-card hand you could possibly imagine against Belcher. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes tap land go. I go, and I know he doesn't have force negation. He's not playing force in his list. So he goes tap land go. I go Stonebrain or Ugin's Labyrinth Stonebrain pass. He goes second tap land, main phase, Flood Maw, bounce my Stonebrain because it's 2 to play, 2 to activate. So if I don't have another lab, then I can't activate it, of course.
Right.
So I go Temple, play the Stonebrain again, pass. He goes tap land again, bounce second Flood Maw, bounce the Stonebrain again, pass, leaving up 1 mana. Okay. Then I go cast the Stonebrain. He consigns it. Play the Collector Roof because I have the Stomping Ground and the Collector Roof. Then he goes on his turn, 4th land, untapped, pass. And in the meantime, I haven't really been drawing much. And then, so he has 4 mana up. I attack for 2 pass. He goes end of turn, 3rd Flood Maw, bounce the Collector Roof, whir for 0, get Bloom, untap Belcher, kill me.
Wow. Triple Flood Maw.
Yeah, all 3 of them. And he needed all 3 of them.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That was a
What do you
tough one.
do? What do you
I
do in
know,
that
it's-
situation except
yeah.
just take a deep breath and accept it?
Yeah,
Right.
no, it's magic. That was a tough one though. But
Yeah.
and then the very last round, not much to say here. I just got 2 by Breach very swiftly. Didn't draw a lot of sideboard cards and got socked. So ended my tournament at an unfortunate 3-4, but it was a good run. I had a great time.
That's the dive down day 1 record this season, yo. I
Or
mean,
DNP, as you guys pointed out for me.
yeah, that's right. You didn't have to play Breach at all until round 7. So like, that sounds nice. You didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Only 1 mirror match also sounds pretty good. When I got back from Portland, I kind of like talked about and reflected on what I learned that I could have or should have done differently. Is there anything like short of, oh, I wish I knew how Broken Storm was, like anything that if you had perfect foresight, you could have done differently to prepare for this event? Or was it like you miscalculated the forecast and it was just the wrong deck to bring for this weekend?
It definitely was the wrong deck to bring. I do kind of wish that I had. What's the best way to put this? Like I had mentioned, I had a lot of close hands and I didn't know whether or not I was supposed to mulligan them. I kind of wish that maybe I had just gotten more experience with those closer hands. Like it's really hard to explain this, but like there's a lot of there's a lot of zeros and a lot of 100s with Eldrazi's. There's not a lot in the middle. I just happened to run into a lot of the ones in the middle. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it felt like I didn't know what to do when I saw these hands. I was like tanking. I'm like, this hand, it seems so close. And given the matchups, like I didn't play against a lot of fast matchups. Like, I mean, Domain, yes, but like Blue Eye Control, Blink. Like those were the games where I'm like, I don't know what I should do with these hands. And then I wish I could take back my tapping out on turn 4 against the Blink deck. Wish I could take that back, but
yeah. Were you feeling good while you were playing? Because you were 2-1 at one point, and then you were 3-2 at one point. So you were kind of like battling. So you were kind of like, were you feeling early on like maybe you had made the wrong choice as you were playing, and you were just battling through, or kind of like what were you thinking about the deck as you were in it?
I mean, I got the matchups that the 2 Orsop Blink decks, like Eldrazi is a pretty big favorite against them.
Mm-hmm.
But like Belcher, Breach, Domain Zoo, I got, crushed kind of surprisingly. I don't know if it should be surprisingly. I don't know do you guys know let me look at the win rate matrix of Domain versus Eldrazi. Because I haven't played that matchup a lot. I'm gonna look at that real quick.
44%
in favor of Domain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right because it felt really tough. But I don't know. I mean, I do think I kind of wish I had just played. If I could do it again, I probably would have tried a little bit harder to find a Breach deck, to be honest with you. I should have played that.
Well, Dev, you got another queue coming up, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going. I'll probably
cycle.
be at Minneapolis and Hartford. I'm trying to go to both.
Yep. And those are standard ones, right?
Yeah.
So we'll be pulling for you there for sure. Yeah. Right now it's feeling more like your element, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just a lot more of it grinding. All right. So we're pretty sure we're going to have a ban.
Yeah.
We're running out of time for the episode for this week, but I did want to ask, what deck are you looking at as we come out of a ban, assuming it's Underworld Breach? What are you interested in here? What do you think could be on the rise?
Honestly, Boros.
Boros Energy?
Yeah, I think so.
What else would it? Boros Burn, Dave?
Oh, sorry. Well, I mean, isn't I was looking? Sorry, Ruby Storm. I was looking at, which has a red and a white symbol next to Young Dingo's list.
Yeah,
so for a second, I reacted that way. It's Ruby Storm is the deck that I'm like keeping one eyeball on right now. I guess I would say, but Stan, what do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't keep too much more.
Yeah, just one
eyeballs. Well, for me, yeah, like it's Boros until I can't. Right.
Yeah.
It was Rhinos until I couldn't. Now it's probably Boros until I can't. And I don't think energy is going to keep splashing just because you splash blue for consign more than anything. Like a Mockingbird is nice, but it's a lot of these Jeskai decks are literally only splashing blue for the 4 consign, which I'm sure is also part of what made Devon's tournament so difficult. Consign was the most played card in the event just because the splash damage against Eldrazi, you play it against Breach, also good against Eldrazi. Maybe you're playing against Eldrazi because it's also good against Breach.
Yeah.
What came first?
All 4 of my opponents who had blue mana had 4 of them. So
yeah.
I also think people should be looking at Amulet Titan, because let me tell you the matchups that Amulet Titan had this weekend. So it was 44% against Breach, but it was 61 against Blink, 61 against Eldrazi Ramp, 60 against Boros Energy, 77% against Domain Aggro. And then it has some bad matchups in Murktide, Jeskai Energy, and Azorius. And then 71% against Orzhov.
I think Titan is the kind of deck, the kind of combo deck, though, that's a lot easier to address than Breach is. So I think I understand your point of like, we should look at Titan because it's really good right now. Part of why it's good right now is because no one has space to fight Titan because they're dedicating 18 cards in their library to deal with Breach.
Yeah.
That's my thought, at least.
Personally, I just opened my 4th Ketchermos in a booster pack, so I will be maybe looking at that deck as well.
The other thing I wanted to mention about Boros is now you don't have to play Range Captain anymore. You can go back to playing other grindy 3-drops. So
yeah,
that's true.
I also feel like, not for me, but like maybe we're ready to unearth Temur from its shallow grave. Like it's been doing okay recently. Maybe it just needs to be. I don't think it actually needs to be Esper. Like I don't think Ketchamos adds a lot to that deck, but like maybe Temur can be a thing. I don't see why Eldrazi goes away. Like
no, I don't think so either.
Like Eldrazi probably gets better.
Yeah, Breach is its worst matchup. So
yeah.
Speaking of blue black, real quick, did you guys notice that the blue black list recently are just not playing Oculus? They're just back on Murktide, no Oculus.
I haven't seen any, but that has happened many times. Are there some in this tournament that did too?
I don't know if there were any in this tournament. I was talking MTGO challenges. I just thought that was weird when I was looking through deck lists. I'm like, wait, really? They just don't play the Oculus anymore? But it's been popular, so
yeah,
something to keep in mind.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what the metagame looks like come April. I'll be jamming. I'll be trying to do it all over again.
I will go to one RCQ with you at some point.
The one that's down the street from you?
Yeah, probably.
Now, the real question is, what do I have to do to get you guys to come to Hartford?
To Hartford? When is it?
End of May, I think.
We can talk about it.
I don't know. Put it on our calendars.
Yeah. Send me a presentation and send me an email with Google Slides.
So Hartford is SCG Con RC Standard Edition.
Yeah.
I don't know. The problem with that is I haven't played Standard in 3 years, but that doesn't mean you can't have a nice time at an SCG Con. And Hartford, that time of year, is truly iconic.
Lovely Hartford.
I've never been to Connecticut either.
Don't say it like that when you get to the state, though.
I will say there's a much better chance that we go to Minnesota or Minneapolis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Devon,
I'll be at
for
both,
what it's worth.
That's a really good point. Minnesota is Midwestern. And I will say the Spotlight Series in Indianapolis, the format is just listed as Secret Lair.
What?
Yeah, I didn't really know what that meant, but
I don't know what that means either, and I don't think we're going to know for a good long while, but Spotlight Series in Indianapolis, like, kind of feels like you can't miss it. I've already put that on my calendar.
What's the date of that?
It's the last weekend of May.
Okay. Well, you never know. All right. Well, Modern's about to change. Let's wait and see what happens.
Dave, do you want to wrap up this week's show for us?
I don't. I would like you to. You're good at this.
Okay, well, that does wrap up this week's show, with or without Dave. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you get the latest episodes as soon as they come out. And if you use Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. You can do so on Spotify as well. Spotify lets you leave comments for us on the episode, and David reads them all, and he forwards the nice ones to us. And he takes the mean ones to the grave.
Mm-hmm. True.
If you'd like to reach out to us, provide some feedback, you can find us on Blue Sky. You can email thedivedown@gmail.com. You can DM us on Patreon. We're at patreon.com/thedivedown. We have a store at thedivedown.com/store. If you're a patron, you also get access to my sister podcast with Shane called What's That in Your Pocket? Episode 3 just launched this past weekend. We talk about Earthbound for the Super Nintendo, and we talk about playing backups of our video game collection via emulators and how easy it is to do on the iPhone and how to do that elsewhere. It's a fun app. It's a fun podcast, and we hope to take it public soon. But in the meantime, you can listen to those episodes on our Patreon whenever they drop. You can support us through our sponsors at Heavy Play. Use promo code TheDiveDown2025 to get 10% off your first order at heavyplay.com. You can sign up to Mana Traders using promo code TheDiveDown, all one word, to get 25% cash back after 3 months of renting Magic Online cards at Heavy Play. I've been forgetting to mention this, but you should also support Devon's Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Doomwake. I've said it before, and I'm going to start saying it again. The O's are zeros, people.
True. He's not wrong.
If you have Amazon Prime, you can just give him a free Prime sub.
If you use the Amazon Prime, it means that Jeff Bezos doesn't get that money. So that's what I always tell folks.
Mm-hmm. He's probably getting a cut from you, Devon. I hate to say it.
True.
As always, special thanks to the bands Nowhere and Spaceblood for letting us use their music. And until next week, get out there and support your local Doomwake at an RC near you.